For years, I never questioned the 50-30-20 rule. My financial advisor swore by it. But then I found a truth buried in economic history that shattered everything I thought I knew about building wealth. The 50-30-20 rule says spend 50% on needs, 30% on wants, and save 20%. Sounds smart, right? The problem is this rule wasn't designed to make you wealthy. It was designed for the Great Depression. I remember sitting in my first budgeting workshop, feeling so proud I could follow this system, but I was being set up for failure. Here's what nobody tells you. The 50-30-20 rule was popularized by Senator Elizabeth Warren in her 2005 book, All You're Worth. But its real roots go back to the 1930s Depression-era budgeting guides. Back then, surviving meant constraining every dollar. But here's the twist. That scarcity mindset actually trains your brain to feel poor, no matter how much you earn. When you focus on limits, you stop seeing opportunities. You stop investing in growth, in skills, in assets that actually multiply. The 50-30-20 rule turns your paycheck into a prison instead of a launch pad. And that's the truth that hit me like a freight train. I had a client named Sarah who earned $60,000 a year. She followed the 50-30-20 rule religiously. For 7 years, she saved $84,000 in her 401k. She was proud. But when inflation hit, her needs category exploded. Her 50% didn't cover rent anymore. She felt trapped, anxious, like she was losing ground. She came to me crying, asking what she did wrong. The answer broke my heart. What Sarah didn't realize is that the 50-30-20 rule ignores the most powerful wealth-building principle in history, the concept of surplus. Ancient merchants in Mesopotamia didn't save 20%. They reinvested 50% into their business. They understood that wealth comes from what you produce, not what you pinch. When you're stuck in a 20% savings mindset, you're playing defense. You never build offensive wealth, assets that earn while you sleep. The wealthy don't budget to save. They budget to invest. There's a massive difference. Let me show you. In 2023, a study by the Federal Reserve found that the top 10% of earners save closer to 35% of their income. But here's the part they bury. They also earn more because they invest in themselves first. They buy courses, mentors, equipment, things that increase their earning capacity. Meanwhile, the 50-30-20 rule tells you to limit that exact behavior. It's a ceiling disguised as a floor. Here's the deepest insight. The 50-30-20 rule was created for a post-war world where jobs were stable, pensions existed, and inflation was low. That world is gone. We live in a gig economy with 40-year careers at multiple companies. The rule doesn't adapt. Its hidden assumption is that your income is fixed. But the people who build real wealth know your income is the variable that matters most. Every dollar you spend on growing your skills or starting a side business is a dollar that can return tenfold. Budgeting for scarcity never created a millionaire. Budgeting for expansion did. Take my own story. For 3 years, I followed the 50-30-20 rule and saved $30,000. I felt so responsible. Then I stopped budgeting entirely and started focusing on earning more. I invested $5,000 in a certification that doubled my income within a year. In that 1 year, I saved more than I had in the previous 3 combined. The rule wasn't making me safe. It was making me stay small. That's the truth that never crossed my mind before. So what's the alternative? It's not about throwing away structure. It's about replacing a fixed rule with a flexible principle. I call it the 50-30-20 upgrade. First, track your baseline needs, but don't cap them at 50%. Instead, focus on reducing them through lifestyle design, not deprivation. Second, shift that 20% savings into 20% investment in self, courses, tools, mentors. Third, let your wants be guilt-free, because you're building an engine that grows your income. This isn't about sacrifice. It's about strategic abundance. Ignoring this has real costs. I met a man named David who retired at 67 with $200,000 in savings. He followed the rules his whole life, but inflation ate a third of his purchasing power. He's now 72, working part-time at a hardware store. He told me I did everything right, and I'm still scared. That's the tragedy of following a rule that was already outdated when you learned it. The risk isn't breaking the rule. The risk is never questioning it. So here's the truth I want you to remember. The 50-30-20 rule was never meant to make you rich. It was meant to keep you from being poor. And those are two completely